Up, folks? This is Believe in Ravens podcast. Daniel Wilcox, Matt Trigger. This is the Philadelphia Eagles post game show. We are coming to you live, brought to you by Bet Online AG, the number one trusted source in online sports wagering. The game starts here. Daniel, what's going on, man?
Not much, Matt, man. Just a little frustrated after watching that game just now with the Ravens and Eagles. And can't wait to jump into this segment, man, and get this show out the way right now. I'm kind of ready to get past this like I just took a L.
Yeah, it seems like we both took a L. It's been a little bit of a rough patch for us here. This was the most decisive loss of the year for the Baltimore Ravens, and uh, you know, 2 touchdown loss. That's stinging right now. There's a lot to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, it is on the front of everybody's mind. Justin Tucker misses 2 field goals and an extra point, which is a 7-point swing, and he is visibly shook right now, Daniel. There's something going on with Justin Tucker. It's gotten worse. He's missed 10 total kicks on the year for 2024 so far. So
Yeah.
where do you see the issue with Tucker lying right now? Do you think it's mental? Do you think it has to do with the holder? You know, a lot can be said right now because, quite frankly, Jordan Stout's not really having himself a good year either.
Right. I mean, I really don't know what it is, but at this point, it's time to move on. Like I'm not saying replace Justin Tucker completely, but definitely bring in another kicker, get somebody here that can actually make some kicks consistently for us, and that actually may go on a hot streak and a hot run. And then this offseason, then we could reevaluate the kicking situation with Tucker and whoever we got there. But this season just ain't his season for some reason. I don't know what's going on with him mentally. Most of the time, it's a mental thing for a kicker. Is not a physical thing. He has the leg, he has the momentum, he has the quickness to get the kicks off, he has the height on the kicks and everything. He's just missing them. He's missing one kick after another, and that's a momentum killer, man. Every time you miss those kicks, I mean, as soon as he missed the extra point when he hit the upright, I was like, man, here we go again. Oh shit, here we go. And I'm thinking that at home. So imagine if I'm playing right now, I'm like, oh, don't start this shit. Like if I'm playing, I'm like, bro, we can't do this. Not this week. Not against this team. Not against this running back. Not against this quarterback. Not against this O-line and D-line. Not against the number one defense in the league right now. We can't do that. So to see us miss 2 field goals and an extra point, that 7-point swing you was just talking about, Matt, that kills us, man. I mean, even when they went up, I think it was 21-12. I mean, we should only been down by 2 points, just needing a field goal to, go up by 1 to win the game. But when your kicker is missing those points and those points are normally given, I mean, it's hard. That hits deep in the pit of your stomach.
Yeah, it definitely does, and it's sad because his fall off as an elite kicker has come
Mm-hmm.
rather quick. Daniel, it's let's just call it how we see it. He's not an elite kicker anymore. He has an elite, completion percentage for kicks, but
Yeah,
most of those came in the first 10 years of his career. The last 2 years have been rather below average for Justin Tucker's standards.
right.
When you're kicking 90%, now you're 18 of 25, I believe, on the year, which is absurd. You got 3
Ridiculous.
missed extra points. At what point do you really say to yourself, is a kicker that's going to carry a $10 million salary cap hit next year worth keeping around going into his age 36 season?
Well,
And
to me,
it's really difficult because, you know,
go ahead. What you were saying, Matt? It's difficult.
I'm just saying, Daniel, it was difficult because everybody loves him. He was here when we won the Super Bowl years ago. He's a fan favorite. He's on commercials. He's on billboards. He's on local TV.
Yeah,
He's a
he's the guy.
likable guy. He's one of the faces of the organization. And now you're looking at the possibility that this might be the last stretch of games that we see Justin Tucker wearing a Ravens uniform.
Well, I don't know if I'll get away from him completely. This season, he got to go. I'm not saying I'm gonna cut him, but I'll put him on IR. I'll do whatever I got to do, to bring him back, the right way so that he starts to get to be Mr. Consistent again. But right now, I'm looking for a kicker. If I'm John Harbaugh, I would not go into another week, especially with a bye week coming up. I would not go into another week with Justin Tucker as my starting kicker right now. I would have to make some serious adjustments to try to figure this thing out. or I have to bring in a specialty coach to try to work through whatever issues he got going on. But here we are at what is it, week 12 right now? What week is this? Week 12?
Week 13.
Yeah, week 13. And week 13 right now, I felt like this should have been done already, 10 weeks ago. So you should have already brought somebody in the first game when he started missing kicks, definitely after the second game, but from that point on, man, I mean, at this point, you got to move on and get somebody in there you got to give somebody else a shot to make these field goals so that these guys are not getting discouraged on the field. I mean, but this was an all around bad game, man. We had some drops on special teams. We had some drops in the receiving core. We just, defensively, we just wasn't all the way there today. And offensively, we started, this was one of the first games I feel like we started out early scoring points. And we just fell off towards the end of the game. We just couldn't get anything else going. And the drop by Aguilar killed us, I think. That was a huge momentum loss for us.
Yeah. Aguilar's drop killed us, but he also threw the ball where there was 4 defenders around. He dropped that in there perfectly. That was an incredible throw by Lamar.
Yeah.
And then
you're talking about the first drop. I'm talking about the second drop that should have been a touchdown.
Okay.
Yeah, he had 2 drops. Yeah, the second drop was the one. The first drop, he dropped it in the bucket with 4 DBs around him, and Aguilar took a pretty tough shot. I wasn't mad about him dropping that one. But the second one, that was wide open, hit both his hands in stride. All he had to do was just dead leg both his legs. He could have drugged both toes right down the corner and would have had the ball down on like the 1 or 2 yard line. That put us in touchdown range easily for Derrick Henry. And we just, he dropped that ball just cold, just straight out dropped it. And with no excuse for it. He just dropped it. And those are the ones that kill us. Those really are the ones that killed us. Lamar had a couple of misses too. He had a miss to Isaiah Likely that came wide open. If he'd held on to it for a split second longer, he could have probably adjusted the throw a little bit and threw a better angle for the ball. Isaiah went flat and Lamar threw him deep. So it was just one of those miscommunication type throws. And then they had another one to Mark Andrews that should have been a touchdown in the corner, like going into the corner of the front of the end zone on the right side. And Andrews dove for it and, just barely missed him. Just when I say just barely missed him. And it was one of those angle type throws too. Lamar kind of threw it a little bit too high. Mark was a little bit flatter. He had to kind of go back across his body to try to catch it over his head. And he wasn't able to haul it in. And, so you got 2 or 3 misses by Lamar that would have been huge plays. We didn't get killed with penalties this week. Philly had more, penalty yards than we did. It's kind of strange, man, to kind of see us take this L against Philly in week 13 right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, Lamar he wasn't really on the way that he usually is in terms of his efficiency and his accuracy today. That Likely miss where he completely threw him in the open field. Likely scores a touchdown right there, Daniel. There's no getting away from that. He throws a touchdown if that's a catch, and he missed him by a lot. It wasn't like a fingertip type of thing. He sailed that ball about 3 or 4 yards over his head, and those are the type of things that you cannot have happen when you are in the process of trying to win a football game. And we didn't really make a lot of mistakes in terms of penalties today. We're one of the most penalized teams in the NFL. We are the most penalized team in the NFL, obviously, but we didn't make a whole lot of mistakes today when it comes to the penalties. There wasn't a whole lot of defensive pass interference calls. There was no illegal man downfield. We didn't have a lot of holding penalties, no illegal formations, nothing of that sort. So to me, if you're not making all these mistakes and you got Philadelphia on the ropes for most of the game, their offense isn't moving the ball either. They did in the fourth quarter what we normally do. They started feeding their star running back and locked that game down. Saquon Barkley did all of his damage to us in the last 2 drives of the fourth quarter. And that touchdown run absolutely sealed the deal for the Philadelphia Eagles to win the game. But that's the defense has been in bend don't break mode for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and they finally broke, which up until the last 2 drives of the game, the defense was playing a hell of a game, Daniel.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. The defense played decent tonight, still didn't keep them under 21. So to me, that's always an issue. You know, you didn't keep him under 21. We did cause a fumble. We didn't get it, you know, but we did cause a fumble. We got to get more turnovers on defense. I can't say that enough, Matt. You know, the best defenses in this league create turnovers every single week in and week out. You know, we didn't hold Saquon Barkley under 100 yards. He had 23 carries for 107 yards against us. You know, Derrick Henry had 19 carries, I think, for 82 yards. You know, and you know, so we didn't win the rushing battle, you know, as far as our offense versus their offense, and our defense didn't do their job in keeping him underneath 100. You know, we ran 71 plays. I think they only had 54 plays or something like that. So we kept them off the field. We won a time of possession battle. We just didn't win the freaking game. You know, so some of the things that are really, really important for us. They downed us inside the 10 probably 2 or 3 times this game, and we had to go the full length of the field with drives. That kills you. We lost the field position battle for sure this week. They was always in a good situation. It seemed like every time they got the ball, and you know, with a shorter field than we had all game long. And you know, we just got to do a better job on special teams. We got to do a better job on offense, finishing plays, and just sticking with our blocks and holding our blocks. Man, their defense is explosive. I told you they was going to be fast, physical, big. You know, and I mean, they played well, man. They played really, really hard against us, and they was doing everything they can to keep Derrick Henry from getting a full head of steam going forward. I thought they did a great job of managing that, but I still didn't think we gave Derrick Henry the ball enough. And every time he don't get the ball for at least 20-some catches, with 20-some touches, we pretty much lose those games. I mean, he only had 18 or 19 touches today, and that we just can't do that moving forward. We got to figure out the way to give that man the ball more. And now, mind you, he didn't get more than 20 touches. We still ran the ball more than that because Justice Hill had some touches too as well. Keaton Mitchell was down this week, didn't play at all. You know, so we could have definitely done better about putting the ball in his hand and allow him to just kind of wear down that defense a little bit more than what we did. You know, coming out of halftime, I felt like he started to get some bigger runs and was making some better plays and stuff. And all of a sudden, we just kind of, you know, died down as far as giving him the touches. And then he, you know, those plays when he's getting hit in the backfield, man, we got to just do better up front. We got to do better up front. And, you know, we got to do a better job. I told you that the toss sweep stuff ain't going to work. Every time we tried to run the toss sweep stuff, he was getting hit in the backfield because you send a guy that's 6'4", 250 sideways versus sending them, you know, up, you know, straight ahead. If you send them straight ahead, guys don't want to hit that. They don't want to touch that. But sideways, hell, I'll trip them up all day. Hell, I can do that right now at 47. I can do that.
Huh. Now, here's the question I want to ask you, though. We've now seen the offensive line, the same starting 5 together for majority of the NFL season so far.
Right.
And Patrick Mekari remains the weak link on the offensive line. He's the one that allowed Derrick Henry to get hit a couple times. It was up his gap, to be 100% honest. So it wasn't always Mekari's fault. It was just an overall poor performance by the offensive line, both running the ball and pass protection. Mm-hmm. Lamar was running for dear life for at least half of the game, it seemed like. Do you go into this bye week and evaluate whether or not it's time to give Ben Cleveland or Andrew Voorhees a shot at that guard position? Maybe, you know, puts the feet to the fire for, you know, Mekari as it stands right now, because he's the one that's constantly getting bullied. He has the most penalties out of all the offensive linemen. So what do you feel is the solution for that? We now don't play again until the 15th.
To me, that's on the offensive line coach. You know, if he ain't making the right decisions as an O-line coach as far as who should be starting week in and week out, then that's on him. His job is in jeopardy. You know, at the end of the year, somebody got to get the punishment for the season, the way the season goes if we don't win the Super Bowl. So it's going to fall back in somebody's lap. So whoever that person is, the weakest link on the coaching staff, he's going to take that L, you know. So I just feel like at this point, you know, Harbaugh, you got to start looking at Harbaugh too. Hey, bro, like, you know, hell, Mike Tomlin find a way every week. Why we can't find a way every week? You know, I don't get it. You know, they got a quarterback, and now all of a sudden they decent, and their quarterback still not as good as our quarterback. You know, and I feel like the only thing the Ravens have been missing for 20-some years is a quarterback. Now you finally got an explosive quarterback and a dynamic quarterback, and now all of a sudden you don't have a defense. You know, so we got to figure out the defensive side of the ball for sure. We got to figure out what's going on with Patrick Mekari as well. I agree with you on that. And you got to take a look at those other guys. The problem comes Matt, is when you look at the guys that's behind them and you don't feel like they're good enough or they're ready enough or experienced enough to play and be more productive than what you already have on the field. So if he's the weakest link, you have to figure out a way so he don't get exploited week in and week out. And just like I was telling you last time, if you got to double that guy on the end every single time that's over him, then double him with the center, double him with the tackle, do whatever you got to do, bring him back over to that side, or tight end to that side to help out. Hell, bring in the extra lineman, go tackle over, do whatever the heck you got to do, but don't hang the man out to dry week in and week out when he's struggling with certain things right now. And a lot of times, you saw a big fella in the middle for the Eagles, the one that played for UGA. What's his name? Jordan Davis. Is it Jordan Davis?
Both of them, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter.
Yeah,
both
Jalen Carter.
Him and Jalen Carter are both Jordan guys.
Exactly. Both of those boys made some plays today, and it was usually when the guard was pulling or something like that. They was just scot-free, naked, right up into the backfield almost every single time. And a lot of time that comes from watching film. Every time this guy pull, he rotates his knee inside. Every time this guy pull, he's light on his hand. His knuckles don't be or bleached or flush or whatever. So they got indicators that tell them, all right, he about to pull. So they're getting ready to come off the ball in an explosive manner to get to the backfield as fast as possible to make the play. And usually when you pull, you run a certain set of plays so they know exactly what play is coming just by your stance, just by your pressure that you got on the front of your hand or how you sitting back on your hips or you rotate your leg in or out. They pick that stuff up on film. And today was a clinic. To me, it seemed like they knew exactly what was coming every time those guards pulled. They was in the backfield, disrupting the play, pushing the center in the backfield, the whole 9 yards, man. And they played strong, they played physical, and they kind of took over the line of scrimmage tonight. We kind of got manhandled up front, and we still are an explosive team,
Yes,
But I felt like Lamar was running for his life most of the game. Again, where he was every time he dropped back, you thought he was going to see some sort of pressure.
And that's what it was. They didn't even get a whole lot of pressure on blitzing. Their front four was in that backfield for what seemed like half of the offensive snaps. We didn't do anything to keep them honest. We didn't do anything to make them, to be honest. The only player on the Ravens offense tonight that seemed like they were giving the Philadelphia Eagles defense any type of hell was Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews had himself a hell of a game. He muscled that ball that down the end zone where he went up over those three guys and yanked the ball out of the guy's hands. It looked like an interception, and he came down with it and he was making plays all over the field. He's making sideline toe tap catches. He's blocking in the run game for when he's called upon. So Mark Andrews is the only one that really stepped up to the plate in terms of playmakers tonight, other than Lamar. Lamar didn't have his greatest performance, but Lamar got him the ball, and every time he had the ball in his hands, he was making something happen. So that's the only bright spot I saw offensively. So now on the defensive side of the ball, the presence of the missed presence of Kyle Van Noy really stood out to me, Daniel. That was bad. Malik Harrison started last week for Roquan Smith and had himself a 13 tackle game. Roquan's back. He's playing on a hobbled leg. He's doing what he can. Malik Harrison slides over to the outside linebacker edge position, and he starts for Kyle Van Noy. We were really not getting any type of pass rush from the edge guys. All the pass rush and the sacks and the tackles behind the line, that was a courtesy of Nnamdi Madubuike and Travis Jones. Travis Jones has had his best game in probably the last 2 months. He's finally healed up from his nagging injuries, so it was good to see him back there. He was disruptive. He ran Saquon Barkley down for a loss a couple times, but the defense, leaves a lot to be desired. AJ Brown didn't really kill us tonight the way I thought he was going to. The defensive secondary did their job. Hamilton has this habit now where he gets banged up in almost every game he's playing in, man. And he comes out and he hit the tent, and he was back out there the next series, after he got cleared for a concussion protocol. But he can't be doing it all in that back seven. And it seems like he's throwing his body around a lot right now. And halfway through the game, both of our backup safeties got hurt. And we were down to just two safeties for the second half of the game. So it was only Hamilton and and our Darius Washington. So that really limited what we could do defensively as well. So we were seeing a lot of Tre'Davious White. We're seeing a lot of these other guys that play limited snaps that are now going to be Arthur Maulet's back on the IR again. So really, we're banged up in this secondary. So getting Desmond King up to speed while he's on the practice squad and this bye week is coming at the most opportune time right now because we're 8-5 now, and we
crazy.
cannot afford to. It's crazy. We can't lose another game. You can't chance being 10 or 11-6 and fighting for a wild card. The Pittsburgh Steelers are now 2 games up on us in the AFC North. They won again today they won today in a convincing fashion, man. And that is one of those situations now where that game against Pittsburgh in a couple weeks, it means even more. Every game is a playoff game now for the rest of the way out. You have 4 games left. And these 4 games are of the utmost importance. You've got Houston on Christmas Day. We got 4 division games. We got Pittsburgh at home, Cleveland Browns at home, and then sprinkled in there we got the Giants as well. And the Giants are going to play us tough because they don't want to be the whipping boys for when we come back off of this bye pissed off. We have now 14 days to lick our wounds and to prepare. And this team is notorious as being very good off the bye. But at what point, Daniel, do we have to seriously make some dramatic changes? Because this might be a lost season if we lose another game or 2. Because now you're talking about needing other people to lose and upsets to happen, and you don't have control of destiny for the playoffs. All you got to do is go out there and win. And this is the first game this year, Daniel, where I feel like we really got beat by somebody other than us. I understand we missed field goals, but we didn't capitalize on any of the 3 and outs. We went 3 straight drives where we were 3 and out in the first half. So to me, we didn't capitalize on a lot of things. And we had some pretty good field position, and it just seems like our offense got stagnated by this very athletic defense with the Philadelphia Eagles. And hats off to them. They came and they played us the way we should have played them. And they came into our house and took it.
I told you. That's what happens, man. It seemed like people just come in knowing they got to be physical against us. So they come in and they out-physical us. And they come in with that mindset. We're going to try to, thug them out. We're going to try to out-physical the Baltimore Ravens. That's the only way we're going to have a chance in this game. And then we kind of come in kind of underwhelming, They almost overwhelm us with their physicality, which is weird because we always been like one of the most physical teams out here in this league, period. But I think if I'm right now, I'm reevaluating every player I got on offense and defense and special teams and just trying to relook something right now. And I'm not throwing the season away or anything like that. But like to me, I think Brandon Stevens would be a great safety. I don't think he's a corner. I think I would move him to safety. This would be the week I would do it because I got 2 weeks to train him at safety before the next game. And he's a long guy, rangy guy. He does play physical. He will come up and hit. And I think he's better attacking the ball than he is trying to find the ball with his back to the ball, right? So at safety, he kind of keeps everything in front of him. He could come up and make plays a lot better at safety than he does at corner. And he gives you a long, rangy body, kind of like Kyle Hamilton back there, right, at the free spot. So I would move him back. And then I would get Nate Wiggins up to speed and pray to God that him and Marlon could stay healthy the rest of the season. Marlon looked really fast and twitchy today. He moved around extremely well. He had a sack. He had a sack on Jalen Hurts that I thought he looked really explosive on. And he's just been playing well all year long for you. He's having another Pro Bowl year, for the Baltimore Ravens. And I think him and Nate Wiggins, if he could love Nate Wiggins up enough and Nate Wiggins can respect Marlon enough to learn and study and then just get with those guys and keep shaping and molding that DB room. And I still haven't seen the Tampa kid. I want to see what he looked like. I haven't seen him all year, period. I didn't even see him in preseason. So I just want to see what that kid looked like on the field. But the TJ Tampa kid, I think this next 2 weeks, you got to prepare hard and strong and just kind of figure some things out personnel-wise to try to figure out how you can make yourself better. And I would take this next week if I was the coaching staff to review the last 12 games we played. Look at all 12 of those games and try to figure out what I did right, and then what I did wrong, and then what we can do better moving forward, and put us in better situations. And I would get with those analytic guys. We got some great analytic guys over there in Baltimore, and just kind of figure out what would make more sense in certain situations. And I would find out what my tendencies are if I'm Monken and Zach Orr. I would find out what all my tendencies are on every down, and then try to figure out what other teams are looking at to try to scheme up against us. And then I would try to figure out ways to protect the guys that are weak links, but could start for me and play and be beneficial. Like Patrick McCarry's, right? I would try to protect him as much as I can, put stronger guys around him so that we could build him up throughout the rest of this season so that we could win with him and not lose with him, so he don't feel like the weakest link. And then I would do the same thing on defense, man. Figure out who's my weakest link is on defense and put guys around him. Go ahead, man.
How do you protect McCarry, though? He's got an all-pro left tackle and an all-pro center sandwich on each side of him. And
you got to figure out when you're going to double team with him and who's going to double team and who's going to help him out each and every play. You can't ever put him one-on-one with anybody. That's the only thing you can do to protect him.
And that's a problem if you've got to protect him to the point where you're sliding protection to help him, because at the end of the day, if you're helping him, somebody else is getting left on an island. And Ronnie Stanley can handle the island, but Roger Rosengarten, we don't know if he can handle the island yet by himself. And or you're going to leave Falele on an island, who also needs help. And I wanted to ask you about the special teams before I lose my train of thought. I want to ask you about the special teams.
Right.
You've played here for a long time. You've been watching this team for a long time. You worked for the team. Is this the worst iteration of special teams that you've ever seen on a Baltimore Ravens team at all?
Of course. I mean, it's only because the punter is not having a great year and the kicker is not having a great year. So when you look at the overall schematics of special teams, you're either kicking the ball off or you're receiving the ball. So every time we kick off or punt or field goal, we just don't look very good. We don't look very strong right now. We're missing field goals left and right. We're mishitting punts left and right. And then on the return teams, we haven't had any huge return, like big returns this year. So we're not being very explosive. And, I think Tylan Wallace put 1 or 2 on the ground today. I think one of them might have been
on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. One of them was a muff punt. One of them was a punt that hit the ground and bounced into his legs, and then he jumped on. And then another one was he was returning it and kind of got grabbed around the neck and the head area. And the guy grabbed him and kind of pulled him down kind of roughly, and he let the ball go and was able to, to recalibrate and find the ball and pull it back in. But, those things, of course, don't make you feel good. It will make you feel confident about your special teams unit, for sure.
It just seems like Tylan Wallace this year has let a lot of punts bounce to where we're put inside the 10, inside the 5. And in today's case, we were on the 4-yard line and on the 1-yard line. That's making the offense drive 99, 96 yards. That's a lot on the offense. And that really limits what you can do instead of starting on the 20 or the 25 or even the 35-yard line. It just seems like they've really got to make some changes. And I don't know what happened with Keaton Mitchell this week. I don't know if he was a healthy scratch. I don't know if he was banged up, but not having Keaton this week really damaged what we could possibly do on offense and on special teams, because it didn't seem like things were really working out with Justice this week. He had a couple catches. He had a couple nice plays, but this is one of those games where if Philadelphia was keying on Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell wasn't really making a difference, that's when you put the speedster out there. And this could have been a Keaton Mitchell kind of game where he gets 4 touches, but he has 80 yards combined between carries and catching. So we'll never know. But we are moving on to the bye week. We will be, the Ravens come back in week 16, and I know that they're playing. I believe they're next. Yeah, week 15. I'm sorry, week 15. They are coming back and they are playing the New York. We're in New York on Sunday, December 15th at 1:00. So we got a lot to adjust in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully they can come back. The New York Giants right now are not a very good football team. So let's hope that we can bounce back and get this victory in a couple weeks. But there's a lot of changes that got to be made. We might see what you were talking about, Daniel, where this could be a Justin Tucker IR situation where you kind of, stash him away for a couple weeks and maybe give him a 2 or 3 week break and then bring him back to let him start kicking towards the end of the year. But in the meantime, you got to find somebody else. And if I'm the Ravens, I'm bringing in punters as well over this next 2 weeks to see if they can push Jordan Stout. I know that he was a 5th round draft pick. I know that he was somebody we invested in, but at what point do you bring guys in to challenge? But that'll do it for Believe in Ravens. This was brought to you by Bet Online AG, the #1 trusted source in online sports wagering. The game starts here. You can find them online at @online_AG on all social media platforms. Daniel, wish this was a little bit more of a happier show, man.
Me too.
We
Shit.
just gotta readjust, and we'll find ways to make things happen. Where can everybody find you on social media, Daniel?
At Coach Wilcox on Twitter and Daniel.Wilcox on IG. I don't really be on that stuff very often though, so most of the time I'm just reposting stuff, or I'll just I don't really be on social media that often. But if you would definitely want to follow me at Coach Wilcox on X and on IG, Daniel.Wilcox. What about you, Matt?
You can find me on X at mtrig_bir, on Facebook at Matt Trigger, and on Instagram at mtrig89. I share most of our content there. That's where you can find it. The audio for this will be out later this evening. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We will see y'all in the bye week.